Hello Sioux Falls and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of November. My name is Jason Bieber with the Planning Office at the City of Sioux Falls, and joining me today is Karla again. We had you back for another month, who would have thought?
I made it.
We have a pretty short agenda again, so we thought, hey, let's bring Karla back and see if we can keep spiking those ratings. So
good deal.
So let's get into the agenda. Like I said, it's a little short, but there's a couple good things on it. So
yes, so our first case is a future land use amendment. The request is to go from tier 2 and 3, which means that they believe city services will be available anywhere from 6 to 25 years, and now they're ready for services in about 5 years. So that, in conjunction with a change in the future land use map, because they are currently identified as I-1 and they want to move over to residential. So that's the request for number 1.
So with that, so when you say services, what kind of services are you talking about?
Infrastructure, roads, sewer, water.
Okay. So currently right now, just based on sanitary sewer availability, roads and water, we're projecting them to be 15 to 25 years out.
Right,
That's your
right.
And then, so this is located kind of north of 90 up off of Slip Up Creek Road. I think this is the Mapleton Golf Course that we've been kind of hearing about. Is that where this is located at?
You got it. So it would be residential homes around or the surrounding area of that golf course.
So then they would be kind of, to accelerate the tier maps up from 2 and 3 to 1, they're putting in some additional infrastructure, and then that will allow them to not only annex into the city, but then I believe they're going to kind of do a residential development around the golf course, correct?
Yep, that's why they're changing from the industrial to the residential zoning classification on the tier map.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit of these future land use amendments, which is great. And this is kind of an exciting project up in the northeast part of the city, so it'll be fun to see. So next we got one that looks like it's at 1301 East Bennett. I think that's just north of Rice and just east of Cliff Avenue, correct?
Yep. So that was actually zoned industrial back in 2014 when the City of Sioux Falls did the big major zoning amendments. That was identified as industrial for some reason, and now this gentleman wants to sell that property off. And since it doesn't match, then they had to request to match that through the rezone petition.
So what currently is on the parcel then?
Industrial, but it is a single family home.
Is on the parcel, so that's what they're trying to match the zoning essentially with the current use of the property.
Yep.
Yeah, we run into that quite a bit too, with some of these banks won't give people loans to buy houses if they're zoned incorrectly, and the big reason for that is why won't banks give them loans?
Because it's a non-conforming use. So in theory, if something ever happened to that property, unfortunately, then it would have to be brought into compliance at that time, and they wouldn't be able to use that as it is. Yep,
great. Yep, so we see those, which is great. It's kind of just a cleanup, so it's pretty easy. That one's pretty easy too. This one we've got, it looks like an RA1 to office. It's on 700 North Sycamore, just east and maybe a little north of Washington High School. Is that correct?
Yep, 3rd and Sycamore. This petition is to go from the RA1, which is apartment residential, to all office. Most of it is already zoned all office, but through another purchase that it was brought up as non-conforming again. So just to clean it up, and then the use will be for an adult day facility.
So like adult daycare thing?
Essentially, yeah.
Great. Well, it looks like I said, we only have 3 items on there, but some ones that are good. So
pretty interesting.
Thanks for joining us, Karla.
You bet. Thank you.
And stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, we have an exciting guest, and it's going to be a little bit sad too, because Butch Warrington, our chief building official, is going to be joining us for his last appearance on Planning Preview. Typically, we have him, once or twice a year to talk about building stats, but this is kind of more of a fun one. He is retiring in a week, and wanted to have him on one last time to talk about his 25 years and some of his great projects and accomplishments. So stay tuned, Sioux Falls.
Hey, this is Seth with the City of Sioux Falls Housing Division. I'm here today with another Home Maintenance Minute for you. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your driveway in the winter. It is a city ordinance that you have to remove the snow within 48 hours of each snow event. And so In order to get that snow and ice off of your sidewalks, off of your driveways for yourself, a lot of people like to use salt. And I myself have used salt, and it works really great. However, as you can see with this driveway, this in particular homeowner used some really aggressive salts, and so it actually ate through the top layer of their driveway, and it's all pitted, and there's sand everywhere, and this concrete isn't going to last as long as it should. The Housing Division wants you to know that clearing your driveway and sidewalk helps avoid safety issues for individuals in wheelchairs, neighbors passing by, and delivery drivers, or anyone else who needs a safe path. Clearing ice and snow can avoid damage to your sidewalk, such as water infiltration into cracks and joints, specifically during the thaw-freeze portion of winter. There are multiple products and methods for clearing snow and ice from driveways and sidewalks during the winter months. We encourage you to do your own research and understand the consequences of the products that you are using. Lastly, we want to thank you for taking care of your investment and continuing to keep Sioux Falls the safe neighborly community we enjoy. Thank you for watching today's Home Maintenance Minute.
Welcome back to Planning Preview for the month of November. Joining me now is Butch Warrington, our Chief Building Official.
Hello, Jason.
Thanks for coming on the program. We've had you on, well, I've had you on and you've been on other years. I don't know, for the couple times a year for the last 7 years since you've been Chief Building Official?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. But I wanted you on, which is a little sad. This is going to be your last time on Planning Preview because you're retiring within, what, 10 days or so from today?
Well, maybe even a little less than that.
So I kind of wanted to have you on. Like I said, you've been on quite a bit talking about building permits and numbers. Obviously, we like to have you at the end of the year or beginning of next year to go through our building permit numbers. But with you obviously being done here after 25 years, right, with the city?
Yep.
And you were telling us this today, which I thought was really cool. You didn't start off in the building, a plans examiner building world, right? Where did you start at?
I started out, I actually worked in the private sector for a while. I worked for Teshiers Incorporated as a HVA service tech. Then I started out as a mechanical inspector. And from a mechanical inspector, I went to a plans examiner. And from a plans examiner, that led me to the chief building official role.
And I think that's, because I've been here 16 years, so I've known you for quite a long time, I guess. Not obviously as a mechanical inspector because you were already a plans examiner at that time. And just having you go through plans and really when I was in the zoning department, being able to kind of work hand in hand to get some of these buildings constructed has been really great. And now, which I think is funny, is you being the chief building official and then myself getting promoted to kind of over zoning. It's kind of come full circle where we kind of are over the people now approving the plans. And we get to sit in the offices, right?
You got it, you got it. And I've always said, you know, you hire good people under you, our job is pretty easy.
That's right, and I think that's one of the great things that we've done, and I think that's one of the great things that was just announced too, that the person that's succeeding you is a gentleman that you hired and that came into the city and is now your building inspection manager, correct?
Yep, Neil King will be taking my spot. He was hired a few years ago as a building inspector, and then he moved up to become the building inspection manager, and now he's going to be chief building official, and that's really fun to see that progress go like that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the cool things too, is you're getting those people that are starting kind of in the entry-level jobs and continuing to move up, and then becoming the boss, and who knows, maybe director someday for Neil.
You just never know.
So over your 25 years, tell me a little bit, what's one thing that you're most proud of?
You know, it is a great accomplishment to go from the mechanical field up to where I became, because I went to trade school as a plumber and an HVAC technician.
You did them both then?
I did. So to go from there to being a chief building official, and I didn't really think much about it until one of my employees came to me here, within the last couple of months, and he says, you know, the city of Sioux Falls is about the 125th largest city in the nation.
Really?
And you're one of 125. And I had never thought of that way, you know, put it on that. So it's really a great accomplishment, and that's where I believe trade schools are really a good thing, and we need them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you just talked about, it moving all the way up, and even just, you know, plumbers and electricians and HVAC people, just what you've seen over the last, you know, 5 to 10 years
Right.
with how much we're building, trying to get these houses finished, because a lot of times they can't get the workers or they can't get the materials to get that stuff done.
It's a good trade to be in, any of those. So,
Yeah.
and they make a decent living.
Yep, totally agree. One of the other things I wanted to talk a little bit about, so one of the great things that I think that we've kind of worked with our two disciplines over the last 7 years, I think, is really working kind of in harmony with zoning and building permits, right? I mean, we both kind of understand what the roles are, but both understand they're both important to make Sioux Falls the best place it can be.
It is. There's people moving into our little city here every day, all year long, and it is something that we take pride in, because the zoning requires the decent landscaping to make things look good, to make people to want to come here. But that in turn, I want a safe building.
Yep,
you know,
absolutely.
that it makes it safe for them to come in and to our little town. And I think working together is something a lot of places you don't see.
Yep.
And I think this is really shows that the type of people that we've got in our office now.
Yeah, that are collaborative, and that's one of the big things that, you know, especially with this administration, the One Sioux Falls attitude to kind of do things together to make Sioux Falls the best place possible. So
You got it.
So over the last, what has it been, four years for sure, maybe 5 years, we've been over the $1 billion mark for construction valuation,
Yep.
right? So when you first started as plans examiner, what were you guys doing then, and did you ever think you were going to get over $1 billion?
Oh, you knew eventually you would get there. The one thing that really surprised me was 2 years ago when it was $1.9 billion. I didn't see that coming, but it was a perfect storm, because there were some projects that didn't get issued the year before that hung on for the following year, and then there were some other projects that were at the end of the year that they issued because they didn't want to wait until the other year, and there was a lot of big projects in there. So it was just the perfect storm to get to that 1.9. Now, last year was 1.1, and I think this year we're going to be really close to that again. That's what I'm anticipating, and being with the economy the way it has been, a little bit lower, interest rates were up a little higher, I think this is a really big win this year.
I agree, and I think one of the great things that we're seeing too is that single family house numbers come up. You know, we're about 20 to 25% more at this time than we did last year.
Yep.
I think that kind of gives the idea, as we always see those cycles that we see, and the apartments are kind of going down, which means occupancy rates are falling, and then eventually they'll cycle through, which we see.
Yep.
And that's one of the great things about Sioux Falls, is that predictability a little bit with not only building permits and what we're going to see for housing units, but also that, you know, 2.5% to 3% growth every year.
Right, you're exactly right, Jason.
So it helps us kind of figure out what we need and to get your staff and a number of people to get those permits through.
Yep.
So I want to shift a little bit here. I want to talk a little bit about, so you started 7 years ago and you took over for a gentleman that retired that was in the position for what, 35 years as a building official?
Something like that,
So
yeah.
I know you always tell me this story, or you tell this story, and I think it's hilarious. So you applied for the position for chief building official, right? And you didn't know if you really wanted it, correct?
That would be a mild way to put it. I saw what Ron did day in and day out, and he did not have an easy job. So yes, I am known by some of the people over in HR, or that used to be over in HR, as the world's worst interview. I say I got this position by default, but we made the best of it. It was a lot of fun. And I can tell you, folks, when they ask you if you really want that position and why you want it, and you tell them, I don't know that I want it, it's not the right answer for an interview.
But I think that hopefully, I'm assuming, with you retiring and smiling all the time, and you always are one of the happiest people in the office, obviously that was the right decision.
It was. It's been a great run. I've really enjoyed the people I work with, and I couldn't ask for much more.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's so great. I mean, you talk about that. You didn't know if you wanted it, and it was, I mean, it had to have been hard replacing the guy that's been there for 35 years, right? Even though you've been there a while and you've made those connections, you weren't coming in from a city where people didn't know you, with the developers and the construction community. And we've always had, I feel like, with the city, a good relationship of working together with those. We don't have to be the city that just pounds his fist and this is the way we are and this is the way it's going to be. But I can honestly tell you, just from you taking over from Ron, just it was absolutely the right choice to have you as the chief building official. Watching your staff and watching the way that you've built them up and created people that can take over for yourself when you leave. I mean, I don't think myself or you or anybody within our department is really concerned. Neil's taking over. What are we? Yeah. You've created that environment within your staff.
The thing is, you let the people do the work. They do it well. It makes me look really good, but better off, they're ready to move up, So
Yes.
It's a good way to make things work. And I'm glad somebody can take over my position, to be honest with you.
Yep. And you had like 3 people or 4 people interviewed. You didn't have one person that said, well, I don't know if I want this, right?
That's right, because if they would have said that, I don't think they'd gotten the job this time.
It wouldn't have worked because they would have had other people there, right?
Right.
Well, we talk a lot about, but just tell me a little bit more about your favorite projects that you've worked on here in the city.
One of the projects I really liked, and this was as a plans examiner before I became chief building official, was the Grand Living project. And that one is unique because it's one of the few buildings that has a real 4-hour wall in it. Because their practice is, in a fire or an emergency, they don't move people out. They just move them to the other side of the wall. Then once they get everybody moved over there, then they'll start moving people out. Another one is Amazon. Amazon was a unique project, to say the least. It's one of the few projects we've had in the Sioux Falls where it didn't meet the code, but it had performance, which is part of the code, but we don't see a lot of people try to use that performance portion of the code. And it took some long reading and studying and understanding, but it was a great project, and they were great to work with, to be honest with you, an out-of-town company like that. But that doesn't take anything away from the in-town companies either, because they're really good to work with too.
Yeah, and that's, like I tell a lot of people that too, is especially downtown, a lot of our developers and our big buildings are local companies that also have skin in the game in Sioux Falls and want to see Sioux Falls exceed. But we are getting some of those companies from out of state that are coming in, and they're amazing to work with too. So we have that both sides of it. We've got some out of state interest, but we have some really strong, not only developers but construction companies, dirt moving companies that have started in Sioux Falls and continue to do a ton of work here.
Yes, and we need them. We need both, because we are growing so much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So last thing here, so I want you to tell the viewers, I always look in your office, you're a big person of quotes, you have them all on your whiteboard, but the one that I really like, and it holds a little bit true with the zoning ordinance, as I call it too, is you got to be gray sometimes, but you have the greatest quote that's above, kind of behind you, and anytime you walk in your door, you can see it. But tell them what's your quote?
That quote came from Doug Thornburg, who works for the International Code Council, and what it says is, don't let the code get in the way of a good decision. The codes are there, and sometimes you have to follow them to a T, but sometimes they are made for interpretation, and depending on the project, you can interpret it different ways. And all we're looking for is a safe building. We don't need a safer building, because if you wanted a safer building, there's no place to stop. So all we need is a safe building that meets minimum codes.
With some trees on the outside. Right?
Absolutely, we got to have trees.
Well, Butch, I know on behalf of myself, working with you, like I said, for 16 years, it's been a real pleasure, and it's been even better with management, with us both being in management, to work together with our two disciplines. And you're going to be hard. It's going to be hard to replace you, but I know one of your greatest legacies, and I know you could probably say this, is the people that worked underneath you, and really the culture of our department has really risen, and a lot of that's based on you and everything that you've done over the last 7 years. So,
Well, I don't know that I can take even a small bit of that, but it takes a team, is what it really takes. And if we're in the right place, right position, we can make things work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Butch, thanks for 25 years and coming on one last time. I guess the next time somebody will be on from the building department will probably be Neil. So, right, he'll have some big shoes to fill, but just like you filled Ron's shoes, I feel like we'll just keep on steaming ahead.
You got it. We're going to continue to issue permits. We're going to continue to do inspections, and Neil's going to oversee it, and there won't be a beat missed.
And you'll start golfing more and doing your announcing at the football stadiums. And
Yep, I anticipate I'm going to enjoy every minute of that.
Well, thanks a lot, Butch. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, Jason.
And thanks for joining us for planning preview for the month of November. Our meeting this month is on Thursday, November 7th. Because of the election, it's moved one day. So a reminder, that's Thursday, November 11th. You can come. It's at the Carnegie Town Hall at 6 p.m. and provide public input on any of the items that you heard earlier in the show. Or we do have that 5-minute comment period to talk about anything planning related at the end of the agenda. Thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.